Hi, I'm Jody King Colegrove with Quantum Techniques. I do the most diagnostic form of energy medicine in the world today. I work with people all over the world, helping them determine why they're having a health issue and what they can do about it. So today I want to talk about fungal infections. So you may be watching this to help understand how to get rid of a fungal infection, or we may have worked together on the phone, already realized that you have a fungal infection through muscle testing, and this is information that you kind of need to know how to get rid of it. So a fungal infection can be called many things. It can be called fungal, mold, candida, but whatever it is, it's living inside your body. And a lot of times it's taken up residence in certain organs and glands or tissue. So on the phone, we've identified what those organ, glands, and tissues are so that we know where to target things. So fungal infections lead to chronic illness. They can also be the underlying issue in chronic illness. And the reason being is that because fungal creates inflammation, and inflammation is the start of disease. So it's really important to know if you have a fungal infection and to continually work on, or to get rid of it, but to continually work on not getting a fungal infection, because that, like I said, it can be the underlying cause of inflammation in the body, causing disease. So the first thing we take care of is the foods. There are certain foods that you can eat that add to a fungal infection. It's really important to realize they don't cause a fungal infection, because all food is created by God and it should be consumed and it's beautiful. So I think that's an important distinction to make. But if you have a fungal infection, there are certain foods that drive a fungal infection because they have a high sugar content or they are very moldy. And so we don't eat those in order to help the body repair. So those are things like, so you want to be sure I got everything here. Okay, so anyway, so we test so there's a big list I'm going to read, and we test to find out, usually on the phone, what foods you specifically out of this list should stay off of because they're impacting you. So some foods impact people and other people don't. It just depends on where you're at with your health right now. All right, so the list that we usually read and test on the phone is yeast, bread, beer, wine, vinegar, sugar, maple syrup, honey, molasses, date sugars, coconut sugars, brown rice syrup, fruit. Now I usually always stop at fruit because, what, fruit? I can't eat fruit? Well, there's certain fruits that have more, let's say, sugar content than others. So things like grapes and bananas, they have a lot of sugar in them. So they're gonna start driving a fungal infection. There's the others that aren't so bad. Those are things like pears, apples, and blueberries. So we will usually test, and I will test for you, which ones are okay for your body and which ones are not. Okay, so other things are, fruit juices, because they are concentrated. Also raisins and dates, they're also very concentrated sugar because they've been dried. So those are not good to have. Nuts is another one. Now I usually also stop on nuts because a lot of people eat nuts for protein. So we say, okay, what is up with nuts? Well, peanuts tend to be a very fungally nut because they're in the ground. They also, like eating peanut butters and things like that, there's a lot of pesticides that they spray on peanuts, and so you're getting both a double whammy there. So we usually recommend not to eat peanuts. But we test other things like cashews, walnuts, pecans, Brazil nuts. I mean, there's just, there's a variety of nuts that we can test to find out if they're okay for you. We can also sometimes roast those nuts in the oven for just a little bit, and that will help kill the mold. So that's another thing that we can do. Sometimes also a wash that you can do on the nuts to wash them and help them. But it's also important to know that, okay, if you can't have any nuts whatsoever, you could switch to seeds. So these are things like pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, chia seeds to get that protein that you like so much. All right, next on the list is potatoes, rice, melons, mushrooms, strawberries, berries. And we also, we just talked about how blueberries a lot of times are okay because they don't have a very high sugar content and they're very high on a vine and things like that. So just important to know there's certain berries that are okay. So we would test that one. Dairy, high moldy cheese. Obviously blue cheese has mold in it, so that's probably not very good for you. And there's other products that a lot of times do have wheat in them. And so a lot of times like malted, the flavoring malt, barley, and also sometimes processed meats has a lot of nitrates in it, and that can drive a fungal infection. Also, tea bags is kind of surprising, but a lot of times tea bags have a lot of fungal in them and mold, and so it's good to test that. All right. So the second thing is we look for remedies. Okay, now that we've said, okay, don't eat these foods, then we say, okay, what can we do to kill the mold as fast as we can? So we have lots of different special supplements that are very helpful that we have found over the years that help. And we have a long list, and so we usually test on the phone which ones are best for you. So just a couple examples are things like silver, grapefruit seed extract, intestinal tract defense, fungus fighter, or if you can't find that one, parasite cleanse, Thorne's formula, SF722, and Candex. So there's quite a few that we can test for to find out which is the best for you. And we will usually give you how much to take, how many times a day, and also the link on how to get those. All right, so the third thing that we work on, if I turn my page here, all right, is probiotics. All right, so now that we've gotten rid of the foods, start working on killing the fungal, then we add the good flora back in to get that whole microbiome, gut flora be able to work again and get a better balance. So some of the things that we suggest, there's, like I said, another long list that we usually test to find out, and those are Primal Defense, PB8, Ultima Foraflorus. So there's just, like I said, I have quite others. Those are just a couple that I wrote down. So the fourth thing that we do is, well, I guess it's not a fourth, but it's like people ask, okay, how long is this going to take? And that is a really a hard question to answer. So it really depends on many things. Actually, it depends on how much, pathogen load did you have? How much mold did you have in your body? Do you have an environment that you're also living in that has lots of mold? Because if you have mold inside and you have mold outside, it's going to be hard to get rid of it both places. So you need to get rid of it on the outside of the house by cleaning things up, and so we would go over that. So it also depends on how compliant you are. Are you willing to stay off the foods for a period of time? Take the remedies, and get your body back into balance. So that's really important. When I was just kind of working with herbs and not doing the whole muscle testing and energy medicine component, one of the things that a lot of times people talked about is if you've had symptoms for a year, then kind of average that it will take a month to get rid of whatever symptoms you had. But that's just a very rough and sometimes, way of kind of calculating what it'd be. But it really just depends on your body and how much you're willing to work on and get rid of it and how much your body responds. Some other things is that it's also important to realize that there are certain emotions that sometimes add to fungal infections. So it's like an expression of fear or anger. And so when you work on your deeper emotional work, that's also a part of getting rid of a fungal infection. So that will also add to how long it takes. So it's important that when we go through and find out if there's beliefs or emotions that's kind of keeping you stuck, that's important to do your emotional work to help get rid of the fungal infection too. So I look forward to working with you more and getting to the root cause of your health issue. So visit quantumtechniques.com and you can fill out a session request so we can help you with your fungal infection and help you get well so that you can get your life back. All right, blessings.